Hi, my name is Erin Swoboda, and I have the privilege of talking about Chanhassen High School. I serve here as the assistant principal, and we have been really honored to be an exemplar school for quite a few years running and take a lot of pride in that. And I'm excited to be able to speak to that with you today and just share some of our successes and things that we have found to be successful and enjoyable for us, and a little bit of things that have made like roadblocks or pitfalls that we've had and things that we've done to address those. So I laid this out so that it really looks at all the competencies that you're going through, like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. And so you can see how that relates to what we've done at Chan, and to make it a little bit easier and a little bit more user-friendly. And then I put in some other fun tidbits too. So we'll go ahead and get started. These are our demographics. We were part of cohort 4, so we've been doing this for quite a long time, but also had quite a few opportunities to kind of restart or relook due to changing staff and changing demographics as we did some boundary line changes as well. Okay, so when we look at 1.1 and 1.2, and again, I'm formatting this in this way, so I think it hopefully helps organize things a little bit more and gives you a better picture of Chan, but also a better picture of how this could possibly relate to things that you're currently working on in your building. So our team composition is listed there for you. We do have a really large team, and we do have students that serve on our team and a separate student team. So I think that that's a really important piece for us in just how we do our business. Is that really what we have found over the years is we have to get that student voice in. And so they just report back to our meeting about their takeaways from their meeting that they had, which has been just a breath of fresh air. And then the second piece is having operating procedures and that agenda. So you'll see here I linked in an agenda. And so I just want to briefly touch on that with you. So our agenda is here. We always start with our action plan for the year at the beginning. And currently for this year, 2020 to 2021, it's to teach expected behaviors in a consistent format, share data with staff on a regular basis, and embed PL equity and behaviors that support learning into our PRIDE framework. So just braiding everything together and being really explicit with that work. We list our members and our norms. And then I'm going to just highlight a couple things for you. Then we work through our action items, and those are things that we're going to be doing or talking about and discussing within our meeting. And this was our meeting last month in September. And so the other piece we really wanted to look at and needed to look at was our overall frameworks, and did we have the right people at the table when we created those? So when you look through this piece, that part that says PRIDE in a hybrid environment, we were pulling in equity pieces because really equity is part of all of our work. And so we were making sure that we had lots of people at the table talking about what are our expectations, how are we deciding that, are they culturally relevant? And then what does that mean in a virtual environment? So I can click on just one so you can see. And this is classroom, for example. So those pieces that we put in there are similar to what we've done before, but there's definite parts that kind of touch on that you're going to be virtual for part of this time, which was really important to us. I'll go back here. And then obviously at every meeting we look at data. So I'll just pull one of these pieces, but this is looking at our PRIDE ticket data. And so if you stay this way, then you can see that this is by teacher, and this is about how many PRIDE tickets were given out by that teacher. And this is just the beginning of the year. So in September and then in October, and then the running record is on the far right. And we'll keep doing this. And then this helps us to know, okay, some teachers are doing great at this, and this is our lowest numbers we've ever seen. So then we look at that and see, well, why is that happening? Probably because of the virtual piece, and how can we make that easier? And you continue to go down. We have our behavior data that sits in here as well. And I'll just pull this last one. We go through, this is our system for how we check. It's an internal database system. So we aren't using Swiss. We created our own that pulled from Infinite Campus a little bit more smoothly. we'll just let that work. And so, for example, then here's our daily average of referrals by month and by year. So there's lots of, we'll pull all the data that we need to be pulling. I can do all years and view that report. And then we can see this in comparison, which that's a very messy chart. But for all the years that we've been doing PBIS, where are we at? And we can break that up and look at different years and comparisons. But all those pieces are part of our standing agenda item. Okay, and then within each meeting we break into, whoops, I went a little fast, into small groups. And that's really to tackle the work. So I'll just dig into one of these pieces. One says posters and postcards. So those are the team members that are working on that, but these are the things that need to get done. So we knew we needed some better pride expectations about our elevator in our building. And then we also needed to make sure that our posters had the correct acronyms on and were explained. So some of them like just said pride but didn't write it out, and some wrote out what pride meant to us but didn't have the acronym. So wanted to make sure both of those had that on there. And then we did an updated pride ticket that was virtual too, that I will be able to show you in a little bit. So it just is a good piece of our structure. We found that it's good to do everything as a big group for about 30 minutes and then break up for another 30 to 45 minutes, depending on what group work needs to be completed, and it really helped get things done. All right, moving right along. Our behavior purpose statement. And so this is just our pride statement. We are prepared and respectful while demonstrating integrity, dependability, and excellence. And then all of our students learn pride during their advisory time. So we're really lucky that we have that time for all of our students, and they really use it really well. So that's been really exciting for us. We have designated time to teach pride, and our staff learn it from us teaching in the beginning, but also through teaching it themselves. So, and then these are just our pride shirts that are shown right there. 1.3 then, continue those behavior expectations. This is what it looks like in a typical non-COVID environment. And then this is what we've adjusted to during distance learning or hybrid. We're in hybrid right now. But when any kids are virtual, this is our format for that. And I'm happy to share any of these things too. And with that, so you can see that the matrix is here and we've redone those pieces. We have also created virtual pride tickets for both students and staff. So these are things that, like our pride tickets, staff can complete for students, but also parents can now. So, and that was part of them being learners at home. So created that piece for them. And then the Goose tickets, and it's actually really nice to track too, are staff to staff or student to staff. So those can be completed there as well. Or a parent could give something to a staff member too. And that's created tons of community around this, but also just excitement and fun around what PBIS is all about. And teaching expectations, we do that, as I said, during advisory. But our pride team, our student pride team, is a huge help in that. So they create videos about that are either on time, things that we need because something's going on right now, in addition to the things that they're teaching generally about pride at Chanhassen High School. 1.5, I hope this is helpful that it's organized this way. 1.5, problem behavior definitions. So the importance of having clear definitions for everything major and minor. And so these are our snapshots of those pieces. And so for major, we have everything defined. And then we put clarification there if needed, and then examples too. And our staff have this like kind of on a little ring that they can look through if they need it as a reference tool. It's also electronically for them. Same thing for minors. And then 1.6 discipline policies. And we just use our flow chart for everything with discipline policies. So everything falls into here, and we follow this from everything from a minor to a major, and it's posted everywhere. I think the biggest piece of this is transparency across the board. So everyone, students, staff, parents, know what's going to happen when and what the expectations are. And then PD and faculty involvement. So I listed a couple things on here that we do. But we really, our biggest piece right now is making sure that our families know as much as they can about Pride and PBIS and the things that we're doing. So those registration nights, back to school nights are really huge for us. And then we train our staff during workshop week. A lot is reminder stuff, but we always have new staff too. And then like I said, they then teach it to our students during advisory. So then that's just building our capacity all across the board. And then our feedback and acknowledgments, our paper tickets are right there. And so even if you turn in a virtual one, we do still write a paper ticket and send it to the student because it's kind of fun memento. And then these are what gets entered in our drawings. Up on top, you'll see some pictures of our Pride rides. So that's something we do monthly. We haven't done it this year, but in all years past we have, but due to COVID we haven't, but where the principal and myself would take students on a bus and restaurants would sponsor those trips. So we do pull from Pride tickets to do that too, in addition to pulling 5 a week for students and 5 a week for staff. And I've talked about this a little bit, but the community involvement for us is has been our goal kind of for the last maybe 2 years. So always adding more things to that. I think it's not a goal that you meet, but it's a goal that you keep working towards and thinking of other ways to get people involved. And so I have linked on here our presentation and our Chan video. And so if you would like to see those, they're just PR pieces, but they're really fun. And our kids did a lot of that. Just certainly reach out to me and I would be happy to get you that information. And then classroom procedures. So like I said, we talked about advisory, but also in every class as the new class starts, so at semester time, or if there's a little blip in what's happening, our teachers always are teaching and looking at the Pride expectations for a classroom as a class. So students look at it within each class with their teacher and then say, well, what does that mean for this class? In our facts class or our foods class, what does it mean to have Pride in this classroom? And then they kind of write their own expectations based on the matrix. And then we looked at our discipline data from the agenda, but here's just another picture, a snapshot of it with not as many data points, but both the overall and then drilling down. So average referrals per day and by location. So those are just snapshots of the pieces that we look at. And this is instantaneous data, which is just critical so that you can get all the information you need quickly and you can output it. And then that's really what we use to make our decisions. And I am like the first to say I used to not think that data was as important as it is. I just felt like I kind of know and I can feel what the kids need. And while I still feel like that, the data really solidifies it or shows me something that I didn't see or didn't think. It lets things be objective so that you can make the best moves forward. So we share data, obviously, at our Pride meeting, but then we share it at our monthly staff meeting and at our district leadership Pride meetings as well. And then we pull behavior data, but we also look at Pride tickets. We look at how many goose tickets. We do surveys. We have student focus groups to talk about what they believe is happening or not happening. And those are just random polls of students. And then our fidelity data. So we constantly are looking at, like, are we doing what we said we were going to do? And how do we know? And if we're not, what is the data telling us about ways we need to adjust or get back to what we said we were going to do? And then our annual evaluations, same as all you guys, but the TFI, SAS, and then general surveys. We actually give quite a bit of surveys here, and we do get really good return on those surveys as far as information. And then, like I said, the focus groups. And then we do have the old-fashioned suggestion box and have made it virtual too, which just gives, we're hoping, as many people opportunities to give us input as possible. And then I'm going to end or close here with our current action plan. So our current plan, and it was on part of that other agenda as well. This will expand it a little bit, but to teach Pride consistently to all students, so that we leave it as an action item every year. Create more on-time lessons. So, you know, if we're seeing like there's not sorting going on in the lunchroom to the level we'd like between compostable and recyclable and garbage, we have on-time lessons prepared for that situation. So we pre-teach and have lessons to go in our file right away. So that file is growing. And we wanted to add a Pride ride for staff. That's a little bit on hold, but we're just going to see what happens with everything COVID related. But our kids have such a great time, and our staff have now voiced that they would really like to be able to do that too. And then just increase our visibility in the community. So we're trying to do that through these different nights and try to be in a virtual presence, but also just finding ways to just like get out there and talk about Pride, whether it's at school board meetings or at Rotary, just in being more visible, like at football games and sporting events. So that's been a really fun challenge for us. So that's all I have for you. Thank you for listening and for sharing our excitement with Pride and PBIS. And we look forward to connecting soon. Take care.